And we're live. Welcome to the Lakers Late Night Podcast. I'm Anthony Irwin. I am joined, as always, by Harrison Fagan. Harrison, it's been a while.
Yeah, I feel like it's been at least like 24 hours since we talked on camera.
Yes, I think it's been roughly Kobe hours since we spoke. Late year Kobe
Hashtag
hours.
re24ect.
Oh man. Wow. All right. So my Twitter is going crazy right now with all the crazy news. It's all over the place. And the first bit of news that I wanted to talk about is this Sam Hinkie stuff. I'm starting out of left field,
Yeah,
and
I was going to say this was not in our prep at all.
it wasn't.
Wow,
It wasn't.
you're
All
really
right.
trying to test me today.
I wanted to talk just really, really briefly about the Sam Hinkie stuff because this is, I think, or the way this turned out, that is the risk that you take when you build through the draft, right? Especially in a system where when you tank, there is no guarantee that you earn that top pick. And then on top of that, if you do earn that top pick, there's no guarantee you're drafting in a year that you really want that top pick, right? And for more of the old school people who were anti-tank almost from the get-go and stuff, Sam Hinkie can be kind of sort of pointed to as, hey, maybe just sign people. Maybe make decent trades and try winning every so often, and you don't lose your job. And then not only did Sam Hinkie lose his job, I found it really interesting how many people were outwardly mocking Sam Hinkie tonight or today on Twitter when that news dropped. Did you see the news? Were you paying attention to Twitter while that was happening?
Oh, yeah, I was definitely paying attention to Twitter while that was happening. I thought the amount of mocking was interesting, but again, it's the internet, so not really surprising. I was honestly surprised I only saw like one crying Jordan on Hinkie. So I don't know if I just wasn't following the right people, but I was really looking for more crying MJs out of you guys. But I think that the biggest thing about Hinkie is that he just didn't draft well. He tried to do the all draft method. We're only going to bring in young guys, and just not enough of them hit.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the bottom line. That's what happened. They weren't his ownership wasn't seeing enough signs of progress. Because it's one thing to continue to lose with young guys if they show promise, but they just weren't.
Right, and that's what I took away from it. Because yes, you're right. On the internet, there's always going to be snark, right? That's not going anywhere anytime soon. But I was surprised at how many people, NBA people who, people read and people pay attention to, have tens of thousands of followers or whatever. And the amount of those kinds of people who were just tweeting out, insert whatever snarky verb and then the process. And the point I kind of made, and then the point, it extends to Daryl Morey, if and when, that experiment ends, is, and, right now, with the Dodgers, Andrew Friedman is going about, this analytics rebuild and handling it as such. And I think a lot of times the distaste with Andrew Friedman comes from a place that has a lot to do with somebody who is smarter than people and is perfectly happy letting everybody know that they are smarter than people. And I think with Daryl Morey, you're seeing that with the Houston Rockets. If they aren't playing well, he gets a lot more crap than your typical GM. And today with Sam Hinkie, with this trust the process slogan that they brought about, is there anything more narcissistic than to tell people, yes, I know we suck, but just trust the process. We see things further out than you.
Well, to be fair, he never actually said trust the process. And I think the thing with both Hinkie and Mowry is it accentuates the importance of not just having one path or one model that you really believe in. Where Maury is, he's made other moves, but generally his thing is, I'm going to get a star or bust. I don't care what players I piss off. I don't care how many transactions I have to make, but I'm going to get stars on my team. And it worked out. You know, they went to the Western Conference Finals last year, and this year they fell apart amid a bunch of trade rumors and, you know, James Harden not playing as well to start the year. And then with Hinkie, too, his model was we're just going to build through the draft. And like I said before, if you do that, you have to hit on those guys that you're drafting. And, you know, Joel Embiid, he very well could still pan out. It doesn't seem likely at this point, but he could. But he hasn't yet. It's been 2 years. And Jahlil Okafor, I think, was probably he was okay, you know. But maybe they were a little disappointed in that. I don't know. Definitely in his defense, I'm sure they were disappointed in. And Nerlens Noel, like, kind of who knows what he's going to be. It's just they tanked for years and years, and they didn't get Wiggins, they didn't get Towns. Both those guys somehow ended up on the Timberwolves. And they're
Dario
just like
Saric hasn't come over yet.
Yeah, exactly. Saric, all the guys that were the can't miss prospects, they missed on because they didn't. They you know, through luck, weren't in a position to draft them.
And I would say yes, the luck thing is a huge thing, and this is kind of where I was hoping to steer the conversation back to is you hope to have multiple paths or multiple ways of thinking in your front office, right? Because that opens you up. That broadens your capability in ways that you can find success, in my opinion. Now, the flip side to that, the counter to that is you run into a too many cooks in the kitchen situation, right?
The Lakers are, you know, they're kind of tempting fit. They're getting close to that point, you would think. I saw some people saying today that they should consider bringing Hinkie in because he's such a good guy from an asset management standpoint. But the Lakers already have Jim Buss, Mitch Kupchak, Ryan West. I'm blanking. There's one more prominent voice in there. You can.
I think isn't Wilkes' son in there somewhere? Isn't there a Wilkes kid in there?
I don't believe so.
Anyway, but
Glenn Carraro is prominent.
What I was going to say is that I would actually welcome Sam Hinkie into that because of those names that you mentioned there. Maybe Ryan West is analytical, but of those names that you mentioned there, it's a lot of old NBAers, right? It's a lot of old people who think a lot, you know, very similarly. And, you know, if you bring in Hinkie, it at least opens up the door to, hey, let's have a conversation about analytics that isn't centered around Rudy Tomjanovich, who happens to be an old NBA player, right? And an old NBA coach.
Yeah, so, but you can't really you can maybe not love the methods that they're going about it, but they've drafted pretty well. You can't really argue with the results. The Lakers have drafted relatively well over the last several years when they've had draft picks.
How fortunate have they been drafting where they've been, though, right? Like, all right, late in the draft, they've done really well.
That's
right?
what I'm saying.
Clarkson, finding Clarkson and finding Nance, those are two really good spots. Anthony Brown, though, like, is he going to –
We don't know. I mean, the defense was there. No offense to be seen anywhere. So he's kind of – next year is a make-or-break year for him.
And then, you know, moving up, what were they slated to pick? Fourth? They were slated to pick fourth, right?
Yeah, they moved up. I'm not even talking about necessarily Russell and Randall. Those are lottery picks. Like, every team has to hit those. But the Lakers have done really well late in the draft.
Well, but that's the thing, though, is that you can't disqualify the luck that's gone into the Sixers falling out of their spots, you know, in good years of drafting, right? The Sixers drafted third. They had the worst record in the league last year, right? If the ping pong balls fall as they should have Karl Anthony Towns. And, you know, we can say the Lakers have drafted well and all that, and that the Sixers haven't been able to hit, but luck factors in there. And I would say it's not even just a drafting thing, but I'm just more interested in a different kind of voice in the organization to send a different kind of message. I
don't even disagree with you on that.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say there's this misconception that they don't know what they're doing because they don't use analytics as prominently,
mm-hmm.
and they've done pretty well.
I agree.
Yeah.
I disagreed publicly with Baxter Holmes' article the other, was it last week or 2 weeks ago, when there was a picture painted of, here are the Sixers, this analytically fueled team and franchise and the direction that they're going. And then here are the Lakers standing over here, the old guard kind of thing. And I said, well, that's not the full picture. That's not the full context. I completely agree. They've done really good with the way they're thinking. I just like to add a little bit more thinking. But this was a bit of a tangent to start the podcast. I guess we should maybe talk a little bit about the Lakers and Clippers playing tonight, right?
I mean, do we really have to? I don't know that we do. I guess what the takeaway from this game is it's now the worst Lakers team ever for the third consecutive year. It's a really depressing three-peat.
Not only that, but there were remember we talked about last night, the Lakers have to win out, and you asked me, do you think there's a good chance the Lakers will, or do you think there's a good chance the Lakers would win out to potentially not be the worst team ever? And it was a joke, right? I laughed at it. Today, Bill Oram sent out a tweet today, and the response to that was laughing at the fact that the Lakers would have to win out, considering the teams are playing and considering the quality that of basketball the Lakers have played all year. And that's the thing is if I'm the Lakers and I'm looking at the direction the franchise have gone in while Byron Scott has been the head coach, and it's not all on Byron Scott, but while he's been the face publicly, the voice aside from Kobe that you hear most often talk about the Lakers, while he's been that guy, they are now in their second straight year of being the worst team in the history of the Lakers. And it's a joke. And my takeaway from that is, hey, Lakers, do whatever you have to. Do whatever you can possibly do to alter that narrative so that you're no longer seen as a joke. And Ryan Kellepire the other day asked on Twitter, there's no way the Lakers bring back Byron. And I would say this is the reason why, is that they cannot continue to be a joke.
I mean, but they're a joke with him. I think they're more of a joke with him than if they fire him.
No, that's what I mean. Is that Ryan asked, there's no way that they can possibly bring him back, right? And I said, my response, I don't think I tweeted back at him, but my response to it was, no, they can't bring him back because they can't continue to be a joke so long. That perception shifts once they say, all right, sorry, Byron. Sorry, Showtime Lakers even. I like James. He's very charismatic. He was really nice to us when we were there at Time Warner, but would it depress you all that much if they said to the Showtime Lakers, sorry guys, you had your time, enjoy your retirement?
I mean, from coaching the team, no, not at all. I don't think James Worthy is in danger of being gone as a Time Warner cable analyst. But
he's also an assistant coach.
Oh yeah, no, he's not going to be a coach next year if Byron Scott's not on the coach. That was that was mostly a ceremonial position, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that they're going to go in a different direction with this coaching hire. And if they don't, then it's probably time to start worrying about the front office and what they're really looking at,
right,
and valuing.
If the Lakers don't fire Byron this offseason, our first show, when the season starts next year, is going to be something. That'll be great. All right, so we'll talk about the Lakers and Clippers. The Lakers wind up losing to the Clippers now for the 11th time in a row. They wind up losing by 10 points, 91-81. This time was a home game. Nothing really jumps off of the box score to me, aside from Julius Randle getting a career-high 20 rebounds. He only scores 7 points, so he doesn't get the double-double. But 20 rebounds, to me, shows a level of activity that I didn't see last night, and I haven't seen for a little while, and it made me question the level of engagement with the Lakers. And when you and I talked before the show, you mentioned that the engagement seemed a little higher.
Yeah, there was just a little bit more pop tonight, not necessarily on defense. The guys are still – no one navigates screens well. It's just a joke. They just die on every single screen. And off-ball actions, they don't pay that much attention to. But at least offensively tonight, guys were moving a little bit more. They were trying to get out in transition. Randall, like you said, was a monster on the boards. I think he had like 9 in the first quarter. Mm-hmm. And so he was demonstrably active tonight. And yeah, I just think that they played better. So whatever the reason may be, they just looked more engaged tonight.
Right. And for me, what stands out when the Lakers don't seem that engaged, and I saw it a little bit last night, and then obviously over the previous couple games, what stands out to me is I can always tell who the set is being run for, especially if they're coming out of a timeout. If they're coming out of a timeout, you know, they walk onto the court, whatever, and 4 of the 5 guys are kind of, you know, their shoulders are kind of slumped, and then they go into their set, and then there's one guy just flying around the half court, and you can always tell that guy's shooting.
It's my turn.
Yeah, that is the guy who Byron ran the play for in coming out of that timeout or out of the court or whatever. And tonight, from what I saw, and granted the Dodgers were playing again while the game was going, but from what I saw, there was a little bit more collective movement on offense, and that's kind of what you would hope to see moving forward, you know, when hopefully there is a new coach.
Yeah, and well, it does make you ask, was Byron kind of justified in saying that guys weren't competing last night and chalking it up to that? And I don't think that, again, it's entirely fair for him to do that because, again, he's done it after nearly all of 62 of the losses. And so the Lakers have certainly tried in a lot of the games that they've lost. But it does make you wonder a little bit if that kind of got to the team.
That's not how I take that at all. If no offense taken or no offense meant, you know, but what I take from that is
I'm just throwing it out there because we criticize him a ton for talking about this, but then we're praising them for more effort tonight. So I think it's something we at least have to touch on.
Sure. No, yeah. But I would say that the simplistic systems are going to create a situation where you have players, there's only one guy who a play is going to be run for, right? And if there is only one guy that a play is going to be run for, what else are the other guys on the court supposed to be doing?
Yeah, no.
Just run around in circles because we're doing stuff.
No, I get it. It's a valid criticism, but I feel like it's something that we have to address when we're talking about them showing more effort tonight after we just criticized him for talking about their lack of effort.
Mm-hmm. And to that point, you wrote an article last night. Your take after the game last night was, hey, here he goes. He's talking about the players' efforts again, or the players' effort again. And again, my takeaway whenever he does this is, God, that's got to get old to listen to, right? And I would imagine that's what you touched on.
Pretty much. I was going to say I'm touched. You read my piece, but I guess not. No, I mean, basically, I just talked about that. If you want to go to the site right now, I have a couple articles up there, and it's basically just a history of Byron Scott criticizing his team with platitudes instead of actual basketball adjustments that can be made. And last night he talked about he didn't think that there was anything more that he could do as a coach. It's on the players to try harder. And which is a joke. If you watch any of their games, there's plenty more that he could do as a coach and plenty of adjustments that they could put in. But they've decided that, you know, we want to be the first team to have 95%, I didn't check this on NBA.com, of our possessions be isolations.
Wait. Well, that's not the actual percentage.
No, that's why I said I didn't check this on NBA.com. There's almost no way that's the actual number, but that's what it feels like watching the games.
Yes, I mean, especially late. The tweet I always send out. I tweeted it out again tonight, and were you running Silver Screen and Roll?
Yes.
And you were kind enough to retweet it. But anytime Kobe is in late in the game, I send out the Photoshop of Byron walking away with a clipboard, and here's Kobe, and here's the 4 other guys who happen to be on the court.
Guys, I want you to look engaged in that corner, okay?
Make sure you cheer extra hard when Kobe is pounding the ball.
I want to see 100% manliness in the corner.
Matter of fact, fight each other.
Yeah, I want you guys to MMA in the corner just to show that you're not afraid of anything.
Exactly. So yes, I just it's tough for me. You know, last night Ben and I had a brief back and forth about the kids and the improvement that they showed on one end, and then extended it to the improvement that they showed on the defensive end too. And it's just impossible for me to isolate. Is it the kids? Is it the team? Is it the actual quality of the players that are, wearing Lakers uniforms? Or is it the dude telling those guys what to do? I have no idea. And
it's both.
Well, if you were to set up a percentage, what would you set it at?
Oh, it would the percent. I don't have an exact percentage, but it would be tilted towards Byron for sure.
Right. Like 65.
I don't even think that you can make the argument that he hasn't weakened the team in a lot of ways.
All right, I just got a tweet from @jberry.
4% of Lakers plays are ISO, so it feels like a lot more than that. But
but I feel like if you're still listening, Jberry, go ahead and if you could tweet us again how that compares to the rest of the league. I would imagine that's fairly high.
I remember a stat earlier in the year that they were first in the league, despite being last in effectiveness.
Right, and the points per possession on there is 0.78 points, and that's
terrible. That would be that would be last in the league. If your entire offense was getting 0.78 points per possession, that would make the Sixers look like the Warriors.
And Sam Hinkie would still be employed.
Hey, he resigned. It was a very beautiful letter. Okay.
Yeah, 13 pages long. He just listed all the second rounders he was giving away. That's all he did. Shouts to the Colangelo family who's taking over the Sixers.
Let's go back for a second, though. We were talking about Byron and his coaching and the flaws that we found with it all year and the flaws that our fellow bloggers have found with it in his previous teams. And, with the thing with Byron, and so today he admitted that he feels like he has had communication issues with the younger guys. I don't know if you saw that or if you were too busy with the Dodgers, but he admitted that he's had communication issues with the young guys. Go ahead, and I'm going to pull this up real quick.
Mm-hmm. Well, so I saw that a little bit, and my thing is, why are you all right, I'm going to go ahead and admit, just like I said with Nick Young, a couple shows ago, I have my biases are always going to somewhat paint how I feel about certain aspects of the Lakers. So with Nick Young, I was always probably going to side with D'Angelo Russell, or with Iggy Azalea, who everybody should have sided with. And then in this case, I'm going to, great. Thanks, Byron, for admitting that. But how did it take you 70 whatever games to admit that issue, or to come to grips with that issue? That's not productive at all. To just say I have a problem. That's like, Harrison, you and I have had I don't know how many shows at this point, right?
A lot.
You and I have had so many shows, and then I've been speaking in a completely different language, and people ask us, why are you guys speaking in a completely different language? And I would say, you know what? I haven't thought of it at this point. That's on me.
That's a good point. I guess I wasn't getting through to Harrison. This whole time we were yelling at each other in English and Spanish.
¿Qué pasó, puto? How's that going to help anybody?
Okay, so here's Byron Scott. Here's his quote. With our young guys, could I have probably done a better job? And he referencing better job communicating. Probably so. And then he said, I'm very critical of myself. I think I could have done better. I can do better. And then he followed. So it's like, okay, that's great. He's taking responsibility for something that he's done. Then followed it up. In 1980, Scott said, it was more coach said, do this. You do it. Now you tell them, do this. They say, why? So even though he's not getting through to them and he's taking responsibility for it, that's their fault.
Of course they're gonna ask why. Why would? All right,
D'Angelo, go stand in the corner. But coach, I'm way more effective at running a pick and roll. Did I? God, these kids. Just let me isolate Lou Williams, okay?
All right, for next show, Harrison, I'm just going to have you shut up the whole show. You're going to sit there and laugh, and I'm going to talk the whole damn time. Go ahead. You're going to accept it, but don't you dare ask me why, because I just know how these things work. It's incredible that millennials aren't going anywhere. I'm on the latter stages of millennial. I guess I'm an older millennial, but millennials as a generation aren't going anywhere. And if anything, it's a positive sign that millennials aren't just blindly following people, because hey, that's how Nazis happen. But with
okay,
wow. Well, but with somebody complaining about hey, I'm just this leader and you should just follow me, whatever. It's just, I don't know if there's anything that can speak more clearly to what Byron has fallen short on this year. And, maybe beside the fight point. And it's possibly why I wouldn't employ him moving forward if I was a team in any situation whatsoever. Because again,
he's not going to do a coaching job.
Right. And you would have to show significant, almost complete, a complete 180 on his thinking when it comes to coaching kids or coaching people.
That's why I thought it was interesting that he said at the end, he ended that with, "I can do better." It came off as, he may not have thought about it this much, but it came off as, "Please don't fire me. I can improve on this. I got these 5 games. I'm gonna communicate the crap out of these kids." And then getting to his coaching acumen, his actual coaching acumen beyond the off the court stuff of, is he losing these locker rooms that he's constantly criticizing for their lack of effort, which I'd argue probably yes. So we had one of our users at jberry2794. Thank you for doing this for us. The Lakers are 3rd in the league in amount of isolations they run at 10.4%. And they run the 3rd most isolations in the league. You'd think they were probably pretty good at it if they were running them that often. You would be wrong. Their effective field goal percentage is 2nd to last in the league at 35.6%, and only Denver gets is less effective on these ISOs.
And he's out there in South Wales. So thank you very much. That's incredible. It's just I'm going to marvel because I'm old, but I'm going to marvel at somebody in South Wales sending us stats about the NBA while they listen to us talk about the Lakers live. It's crazy.
Oh, excuse me. Lakers are 1st in the league at ISO frequency. That's what I thought. I misread that stat. That's what I thought before, but I misread the actual stat he sent us. So they're 1st in the league in ISO frequency. They are they're 2nd to last in the league in effective field goal percentage out of that.
Right. So, I would say before we got to move on, just really pushing a little long on this show too, but
yes.
I would say it scares me that we are now nearly 70 games into the season, and Byron is just now admitting, hey, I struggle to communicate with millennials. And if I were Byron Scott's agent, I'd consider dropping the dude, because you can't say that considering the league only gets younger. It's not like the league's getting older anytime soon. We'll go ahead and talk a little bit. I thought it was really interesting. We were going to talk about Phil Jackson. We can save that for another day. The Lakers fans in the stands today gave Kobe, and especially I thought warm ovation to Kobe to exit the court. So I figured let's kind of go through and talk about this Kobe Clippers relationship, however that played out. Go ahead and do you have a favorite Kobe Clipper moment?
No. No, I don't think I do. I mean, I guess some of it's recency bias, but they've sucked against the Clippers in recent years. And yeah, I don't have a ton of memorable memories, I guess, of Kobe playing against the Clippers.
Yeah, to me, what sticks out is Shaq dropping, I think was it 50 or 60 on
there's that one.
But that wasn't Kobe, obviously.
Yeah.
Shaq. But
well, I guess maybe the most memorable thing is that he almost went there as a free agent when that whole him and Shaq feud was going down before the Lakers traded Shaq.
Right. Trying to think.
Or they might have just traded Shaq and he was still considering it. I'm not sure, but I'm
No, it was a free agent thing. He was considering going to the Clippers, and then randomly, here I go. Shaq is gone, and then now all of a sudden, Kobe resigned. Or at that point, it was
okay.
The timing of that was a little weird.
The exact timeline of those events. I was very young.
I might remember that wrong, but anyway. But I would, I guess my favorite Kobe moment with the Clippers, man, he dunked on Chris Paul that one time. But like, we're really gonna bring up a single dunk against the Clippers
in a game they most likely lost.
No, I think they won that one. They won. It was like right after it was the first full season after Chris Paul got to came to LA, but to the wrong team. And then the Lakers wound up winning that game. And then since then, they've lost every single game against the Clippers since then. So, yeah, it's tough. The whole Lakers-Clippers dynamic is always going to be weird because the Clippers have never been good. Even this year, they're supposedly good, but they're not going to win a title, right? No. So
they rose to prominence at the wrong time.
Yeah.
They're a very good team in an age of historic teams.
I asked this question the other day. We'll really briefly we'll touch on this and then we'll call it a night. But I asked this on Twitter and some people didn't like it very much. How many titles do you think, basketball decisions cost Chris Paul?
That's interesting. Probably quite a few because you got to think that if Chris Paul is there, then as long as he doesn't also break his leg like Nash did, that Lakers team is a little better to start with. And maybe Dwight Howard doesn't feel as much pressure to rush back.
Well, Dwight wasn't on the Lakers at that point.
No, but they still had the assets to trade for him.
Right. So that was the problem that the rest of the league had with the trade, is that not only were the Lakers giving up or getting Chris Paul, but they still had the assets to pick up Dwight Howard. So the team you're probably looking at in that situation is Chris Paul, Kobe Bryant, Dwight Howard. I think Metta was still on the team at that point. Metta was still on
the team. He hadn't Metta world peaced yet.
He had not met. He had. Yes.
Well, I guess the Lakers told him to Metta world peace when they amnestied him.
Right. So I guess. So with those three guys, and then you would think the Lakers would do a pretty good job of building around those three guys because that's what they've proven they've been able to do. Would those three guys combine to win a title?
Yeah, I think they would have. I think they would have won one or two. That team was supposed to be really good. It fell apart because of chemistry issues that nobody foresaw and crazy injuries. But that team was pretty good. People forget how good that team was in the second half of the year to force their way into the playoffs.
I mean, it took Kobe playing 48 minutes a game and then eventually snapping his Achilles to make it happen. But yeah,
well, if Chris Paul is there, maybe Kobe's not handling the ball as much.
Right. Well, just think about I was among them. I won't lie. I thought that was that team made the most sense of any team I've really ever seen.
Everybody thought that team made sense.
Yeah, you had Dwight to man the middle. You had Kobe. It's still on the tail end of his prime. You had an unselfish point guard who can hit the spot up three. You had Metta World Peace as perimeter defense. Yes, again at the tail end of his prime, but at least in that first year, that team made a bunch of sense. If you basically swap out. Oh, and then you had Powell to work with Dwight, which would be the one significant difference, right? You're basically trading Steve Nash and Pau Gasol for Chris Paul. So does that team make a little bit more sense?
I think it does, especially when you consider who they hired to coach it with Mike D'Antoni, who wanted to bring Pau off the bench.
Right. Yeah. That was weird to me. That was an
Yeah.
interesting. That was
Well,
a little
it's
dynamic.
again, we talk about it. We were talking earlier about GMs getting stuck in the idea of like, this is the one way to have success.
Hmm.
And, I think D'Antoni to a degree was a little bit more stuck in, there was one way to have success. Although to his credit, towards the end of that year, they started running a lot more double post stuff for Dwight and Powell. And it wasn't like his go-to or his preferred style of play, but he adjusted to the personnel that he had.
And even I think a clearer example was Mike Brown sticking with the Princeton offense, to to not win a game in preseason, then not win a game to start the regular season. So, yeah, it's an interesting conversation. Go ahead and at both of us, at HM Fagan, at Anthony Irwin LA. I'll at least talk about it. Harrison's big time now, so I don't know if he'll actually reply to you.
Might be too busy.
But aside from that, the Lakers wind up losing tonight, 91-81. We are now, I'm doing quick math, 4 games away. This is it.
Yep.
4 games away. 4 games away from the end of Kobe Bryant's career. 4 games away from hopefully Byron Scott's Lakers coaching career. And 4 games away from this merciless Lakers season and merciless stretch of Lakers basketball.
I just want to say, like, everybody stick with us. We got some cool stuff coming over the next week. I know the season's been terrible, but we're going to do our best to, at least bring you guys some good stuff.
Right. Tonight was a perfect example, or not a perfect. Nothing we do here is perfect. Nothing's even that great. But tonight I wanted to switch it up, and we would talk about Sam Hinkie and stuff. So if need be, we'll broaden the scope on what all we can talk about, and it makes for a little bit more fun. Thank you very much, Harrison, for joining us.
All right. Thanks, Anthony.